showed me why. Instead of asking why, start asking why not. Time flies when you're having fun. Time flies when you're lying in the sun. Bit by bit, the older that we get, the faster it tick, 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 ticks. Time flies. Whoa, whoa, time flies. Well,
We ready? Okay. Good afternoon. Lyndall, Fraker again with Marshfield High School Times. This is our second podcast today, and I want to, I'm just very honored to have someone very special in here, and even more special, his wife, Governor Mike Kehoe and his wife, Claudia. I also have their daughter, Maggie Kehoe, over here, and former Senator Mike Cunningham's with us as well. So this is a very special day. Today, as I mentioned earlier, is our Lincoln Day here in Webster County. And the governor was attending tonight, and he graciously agreed to be on a podcast. So we'll be putting this out there, and anybody can watch it later if they don't catch it right now. So thank you, Governor, for coming. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I hope we don't hurt your viewership. That's what I'm worried about. This
No.
could drive ratings down, not up.
You're the governor.
Well,
You're the governor.
you know,
Yeah.
some days it's good and not some days it's bad.
Well, our little podcast is simply to document history for Marshfield and Webster County, and we hope to preserve that history for the days to come. And so basically we talk about anything you want to talk about, namely to get to know you a little bit better.
Sure.
When you came to America, as Gary Price would say,
Yeah.
and you know, a little bit about your upbringing and how you and Claudia met and the family and that kind of thing. And then we'll get into what you do today. But if you
Sure.
want to take just a few minutes and do that.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I mean, Lyndall, you've been a great friend to me, and your service in the House has represented this area fantastic. And my friend Senator Cunningham is one of my best buddies. I would say, you know, when I got done with the Senate, there was 3 or 4 people that I would never ever forget, and certainly Mike Cunningham's one of those.
I agree.
And really introduced me to a lot of people in Webster County. I mean, Mike Cunningham is Webster County, just as you are. I mean, like when you walk in this building, there's Frakers everywhere. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's Frakerville almost. And the history of Webster County, Claudia and I have been honored to be in the 4th of July parade, which is, as you know, is the oldest 4th of July parade west of the Mississippi. I don't know, several times we've been in the
Yes,
parade.
yes.
Once Cunningham rode in this team with me once, and I had to hand the lines over to him. We have a team and a stagecoach, and he's like, "I don't know what to do." I said, "You're a horse guy, Cunningham. Come on, you can figure this out."
And the next time he walked
Yeah,
after
he did.
that.
He's walked, yeah, and then we had the he's not walking anymore.
No, not working anymore.
No, he's not walking anymore. But we've made so many good friends here. Your Sheriff Cole is
Yep.
just a great stalwart for community safety and public service, and really has worked well with us in the Sheriff's Association.
And you just appointed him to a committee, I
Yes.
understand.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
We're on.
Roy's a great guy.
Yeah.
Of course, as we mentioned, your family has been fantastic to me. The Thompsons here in town on the town square. So we have a lot of good friends here in the area, and we're happy to be back. But yeah, we're enjoying this first 2 or 3 months trying to get our feet wet. Obviously, sessions in, and we've made some good progress with our priorities in the legislative session. So we're very honored to be here, and we're very thankful to the citizens of Webster County who supported us in this run.
Well, thank you. And you know, the reason that we like you so well is because you're one of us. We feel like you are. You understand rural Missouri. You understand Webster County, and you know, you don't have some kind of a pretentious aspect to you. You just understand what it's like out here in rural Missouri. And your story is kind of a rags to riches story.
Well, I've been very blessed. You know, I was telling somebody today at our farm when they said, "Where are you from anyway?" And a construction crew from Hartville, by the way.
Yeah.
From Wright County.
Yeah.
And they said, "What part of the county were you born in?" We're in Phelps and Pulaski, where our farm is. And I said, "Well, I was born in inner city North St. Louis." And the guy just looked at me like, "You were?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't know a horse from a cow till I was 15.
That's
So,
right. Yeah.
Single mother, raised 6 kids. She was a saint. Mike and I were just talking about her earlier. I was the youngest of those 6 and never met my father.
Yeah.
She worked multiple jobs to make ends meet. And, we didn't have a lot. We got clothes from other people and sometimes food, and but my mom was a great Christian woman who was very strong faith. And I like to tell everybody, my mother, you guys have heard me say this, whenever we complained to my mother, she had one piece of advice: work harder, pray harder. anything you complained
Yeah.
about, that was her answer.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have a lot, but we had a very solid upbringing as far as love, Christianity, and work ethic. And that's how my life started.
It's what it's all about, and it really is.
It really is.
So you got a little bit of a start by working for a car dealer, right?
Yep. Start washing cars when I was 15.
Yeah.
And worked my way up to selling cars. Ultimately became the manager in that dealership. The gentleman who owned that is in the St. Louis area. Dave Sinclair is a very famous name. He's been there for a long time. Mr. Sinclair has passed about 15 years ago, but he really took me in as one of his own. He had 7 children, and they used to tease me and say I was the 8th adopted child. And so the Sinclair family is a huge part of my life, still is a huge part of my life. And they really helped me get going through the car business. Dave and some partners had a manufacturing business in a little town called Lynn, Missouri, that we got involved in and ultimately acquired as ambulance manufacturing. Still today they have it. And then Mr. Sinclair ultimately helped me get into a Ford dealership in Jefferson City of my own, and that was it. He also owned a farm in Phelps County, and so he's responsible for me getting into agriculture. It's been a little over 40 years ago that I bought my first set of cattle. So I've had a farm in Phelps County for I think 35 or well, I guess 40 years now. So it's a big role model in my life.
What do you think he would say if he were here today to you
Well,
and about you?
His last words to me were, "Don't forget your roots."
Yeah.
And so, he's like anybody else. Nobody really likes politicians. You guys know that. You're both normal people, and we've all served with normal people. They're good people.
Right.
But unfortunately, politics has such a rotten misnomer to it. But there's a lot of really good people in
Yes,
the
there
business, and I never really wanted to do this. Claudia never wanted me to do it, and somehow or another she came in kicking and screaming. And I thought that having somebody who was a business person in politics, who understood and lived in the agriculture business, we're also in the horse business as well. That would be, that small business piece would be a good thing to have in state government when you're making policy. And I know Mike, small business owner here for a long time, and so a lot of people get in for that reason. That's a good thing.
Right. You're everybody's governor. You're not just a Republican's governor. You're everybody's governor. And I think that's the thing that Mike and I tried to do when we were in office here is we had a lot of friends that maybe didn't have the same party behind their name as we did, but they were our friends and they trusted us and they knew that we would try to represent all the citizens of the county. And I think that's what people feel about you. And I think you've shown that so far.
Well, look, I think, it's sometimes in politics is a dirty word to talk to somebody who's in the other party.
Yeah.
And so it isn't for me because I think you can hold on to your Christian core values and still have friends that maybe don't agree with you.
Yeah.
And so when we get out of the car, Claudia and I travel this entire state. A lot of times people don't ask, are you Democrat or Republican? They say, are you getting anything done?
Yeah, that's right.
And so they're tired of the infighting and the bickering. I'm not going to give in on my core values.
Right.
I'm just not.
Right.
But I'll figure out a way, the salesman and we figure out a way maybe to bring somebody who doesn't agree with me over to our side. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're always trying to do. And that's what you guys did as well. You did it very well.
Yeah, and sometimes we have to move incrementally. We can't just move the whole game.
Yeah, I'm a conservative through and through. I mean, there's no two ways about some of the things we've done as governor has been very, most conservatives can't believe some of the things we've done so far because they've been very conservative. But, and I'm sure some Democrats don't like some of the things we do, but I'm not going to stop talking to them. I mean, there's things we can work on together.
You bet. So tell us a little bit about your family, your children.
So Claudia and I were introduced on a blind date by the Sinclair family, actually. Mm-hmm. And we dated 3 weeks and got engaged. And that was 36 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's still hanging around, man. She's the best wife I've ever had.
She's amazing.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
She is amazing. Yeah.
It's the only wife. In case viewers don't know, it's the only wife I've ever had. We have 4 children. Our daughter Maggie is our number 3 child is here. But more importantly, the greatest thing that's ever happened to us this year has not been getting sworn in as governor. Just a little over 4 weeks ago, our daughter had our first grandchild.
First grandchild. Awesome. Yeah. That's great.
And so we are the grandparents to young Scott Michael Steele is his name. We're calling him Scotty. And our oldest daughter, Carol, she's in the banking business, had Scotty about a little over 4 weeks ago. My son, Michael, is in St. Louis. He's in sales, believe it or not. So he calls on automotive dealers and sells aftermarket products to automotive. Maggie's in the golf industry, so she puts on golf tournaments, Corn Ferry, and PGA Senior Tours, and et cetera. And then my youngest, Claire, lives in Dallas, and she works for American Airlines. So
Okay.
they all have a job, and they're out of the house.
Hey, there you go.
It's a good
Can't
day.
beat that.
If I can get them all off the cell phone bill, I'll feel like I've really accomplished something.
Well, good luck with that. Internet
Yeah.
service
Yeah.
is even worse in my home. Well, Governor, tell us just a little bit about. Well, first, I want you to mention something about serving with Mike and the time you guys spent together, because you first got elected to the Senate, state Senate, and so those were days that kind of got you started politically. And talk a little bit about that.
Well, when I first got into the Senate, and I didn't, our dealership was 2 miles from the Capitol, and I'm not sure I'd ever been in the building. I mean, it wasn't just politics and politicians were just taking my tax dollars, and I didn't trust them inherently at all. And so I wasn't really much into the whole political scene, but I ran for state Senate seat and won. But the interesting thing is, the office right next to me was a guy named Jay Wasson out of Nixon, Missouri. And Jay had to have somebody who kind of showed him around because he was a lost ball all the time. And his first 2 years as chief of staff was Mike Cunningham. And so Mike literally was next to me the first 2 years, every day. And then we had another gentleman, one of our best friends, Ron Richard from Joplin, who
Right.
we knew well, we lost way too early,
Right.
was on the other side. So the
Yeah.
3 of us, remember Mike, we officed together.
Good.
And we had a lot of fun, but we worked hard.
Yeah.
We worked on bills that meant something to Missourians. More importantly, we killed things that were bad for Missourians. And so I served in the Senate. Then Mike ultimately ran for a state Senate seat and won. And so my last 6 years in the Senate, I got to serve with Senator Cunningham.
Right.
And then my first 2 years as lieutenant governor, I got to serve with Senator Cunningham.
That's right.
And Senator used to come to me, and we'd try to fix the problems of the world every once in a while.
I thought we did, all of them.
We did.
Close.
I was just telling somebody, we got off on the 103 exit coming in here, and I said, this is the Mike Cunningham
That's right.
interchange,
That's
by the
right.
way.
That's right. Yeah.
Senator Cunningham made it a passion to do better things for Webster County, Marshfield specifically, and he spent an enormous amount of time trying to make sure that interchange came to life, and that's
Yeah,
what I
yeah.
call it every time. We dedicated, I'll tell you why off camera, but we dedicated on November 18th of 2019. I was here for the groundbreaking, so
Right.
that's just a day I remember for certain.
Yeah, that
reasons.
was certainly something, an accomplishment that
Yeah.
we're very proud of. So, as a young representative coming in, the one thing I want to mention about you and Mike and Jay and Ron Richard, you guys were statesmen. You were diplomats. You were business people, all of you, and you weren't the first guy to the TV camera. You weren't the ones out there crying and whining on social media, although social media just was in its infancy then. But you really weren't. You were respected. When you looked at those murals on the Senate walls of the lounge, you guys would have fit in with those guys, because
Right.
that's how it was in those days. It's all changed, and it seems as though now it's whoever has the loudest bark gets the biggest soundbite. What do you think about that? How are we gonna? Now you've so far in 3 or 4 months you've been able to keep all the wolves at bay, so to speak.
Well, I like to tell everybody there's only one Bible, and it's not Facebook.
That's right.
Social media is easy for people to kind of, say what they want to say, which everybody should be able to, but it's a lot easier and it's a lot broader. And it's not always accurate as to what's
Right.
going on. And so to tell you the truth, I try not to pay attention to it. We've deleted our social media apps, and we're going to do what's best in our heart for Missourians and best on the conservative Christian family values I have, and we're going to go forward. So social media has definitely lent a new kind of a slant to politics. I think Mike would agree with that.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
you just kind of keep working through it.
Right.
So that's what we do.
The other thing that I think has changed is, nationally, with what's going on in DC, there's so much that's being exposed, so much that's out there that's come to fruition now that we have the new administration. I like to tell people that, Jeff City, we've got a little bit of I guess you call it the deep state, but not anywhere near Washington. It's a lot different atmosphere.
Yes,
Would you not agree with that?
I would definitely agree with that. Washington is really thick with bureaucrats.
It is.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's kind of fun to watch what's going on, actually. One of my nightmares was that I would win the governor's race and then Kamala Harris would win the president's race and I would have to pull my hair out and maybe resign or something, but I wouldn't have done that. It's really fun serving with somebody like President Trump because he's a business guy as well.
Tells it like it is.
And yeah, he's just going to go do what he thinks is best.
Were you in the room when they called the governor of Maryland?
No, that's the day our grandson was born.
Oh, really?
And
Okay. I wondered. I didn't
all the
see you.
things I wanted to be, because everybody asked me, "Oh, it was the governor's lunch. Weren't you there?" And I'm like, "Yeah." The Trump administration, and I didn't personally talk to the president about my grandson, but
Yeah.
his family, his people around him were very understanding. They said, "You need to be where your grandson's being born."
Yeah.
So I missed that, but a lot of my friends were there. Governor Sanders has gotten to be really good friends
Yeah.
of mine, and Kim Reynolds up in Iowa, and Brian Kemp in Georgia. They all said it was classic.
I bet it was.
So that was kind
Yeah.
of fun to watch.
Seems like Missouri's being well represented with Senator Schmidt and Senator Hawley, and
Well-
then Attorney General Andrew Bailey, from Missouri. I mean,
We
getting a lot of exposure.
we have one of the best statewide groups of officials. It's all Republicans, and which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Andrew Bailey's a rock star, by
Yeah,
the
he
way,
really
Attorney
is.
General.
Yeah.
But David Wasser's doing a good job as Lieutenant Governor. Denny Hoskins is doing a great job. Scott Fitzpatrick is auditor.
Yeah.
Vivek Malik as treasurer is really doing well. You mentioned our congressional delegation. Webster County, has 2 congressmen. That's how important you guys are.
That's right.
You
We're very
need 2
important.
congressmen to take care of you here. But both of
They'll
those
be here
and
tonight, by the way. They'll be-
So you have Mark Alford
Mhm.
on one side and Jason
you.
Smith have a little piece.
No.
Eric Wilson.
Yeah.
Eric's doing a great job. I'm sorry. So
Yep.
you have both of those. But you mentioned Senator Schmidt. The new fighter jet that Boeing just got
Mhm.
announced yesterday. I talked to Eric yesterday, and I talked to him earlier. I talked to Eric a lot, especially with the unfortunate tragedy we've had
Right.
with the storms last
Right.
week. We spent a lot of time going through Missouri, but the congressional delegation and the connections they have with the president and the administration is fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, Jason Smith is probably one of the most powerful chairmen in the House. Eric Schmidt has gotten really close with Trump. You got Billy Long,
Mhm.
in this
Yeah.
area. Everybody remembers Billy working at the IRS, which I'd like to buy a ticket to go to those meetings and watch how that goes, because I guarantee you Billy's not putting up with any stuff.
Right.
But it's been good, and I will tell you, Senator Schmidt specifically. Senator Hawley, of course, does a great job, but I know Senator Schmidt got very engaged in the new F-47 project, which is a huge game changer for Boeing in St.
Yeah.
Louis. And Boeing, the last I checked, they have companies that they do business with, suppliers in 47 counties in Missouri. So it's not just a St. Louis thing when Boeing gets a project.
Right.
I mean, there's Gasconade County, Phelps County has a supplier machine shop to Boeing. So when Boeing is doing good, it's a huge ripple effect across the state. And of course, what F means fighter, and 47 means that's
The
47.
president.
Could be. I'm just saying, it might be a coincidence. F-47, baby.
Yeah, that's right.
pretty cool.
That is neat. I hadn't
Yeah.
thought about that yet.
Yeah,
But you're Governor 58. I do know that.
thank you. Thanks for reminding me.
There's one topic that I think is going to be one that you're going to be really important to keep the state together on. That's education.
Mhm.
As you all know, Mike's daughter's a teacher. My wife's a preschool teacher. We have a lot of great teachers in Webster County and most rural counties, quite
Yep.
frankly. There's a concern with what's going on nationally, what's going to happen with education and the
Right.
funding and so forth. And I assure everyone when they say something to me about it that knowing Governor Kehoe and knowing the legislature, the representation that we know, the people we know, that it'll be okay.
Yeah.
I think people need that assurance.
I will tell you, it is going to be okay.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a couple of reasons why. We have a new DESE commissioner, and you guys know well.
Very
Your
well.
former senator, Carla Essinger. I'm gonna look at it. She's a rock star.
We might have helped her.
Absolutely.
We might have helped her get elected.
Is a
but go
rock
ahead.
star. Thank you for helping her get elected. It was an honor to have her in the Senate. I
Yeah.
think Mike would agree with that as
Right.
well. It's hard to fill these shoes.
Right.
But she has a lot of common sense. As you know, she's a former educator. And I work with Carla a lot.
Mhm.
And all of the things we've done in education has been with Carla's input on things that she thinks, like the rewriting of the school funding formula,
Right.
the reworking of the child care standards. We want kids to be safe, but we need to open up access to child care. Carla's been involved in all that. Every 2 weeks, Carla comes and meets with me in my office with the Speaker of the House, John Patterson, and the Senate Pro Tem, Cindy O'Laughlin. And that's never happened.
That's
in
great.
DESE
That's great
education
news.
Before.
That's great news.
Because people see what's happening. We have 550-ish public school districts. Some, as for instance, your districts, they're rock stars.
Yeah.
They're turning out incredible products. There are some that struggle though.
Right.
And so we want to try to figure out a way to not penalize the ones that are doing good, which under the current formula actually does happen. Incentivize good performance and good outcomes where kids actually are ready to go to whatever the next step they want to go to. They might want to go right into the workforce, and that's fine. They might want to go to career and technical college. I'm a huge fan of that. You might want to go to a four-year school. We have 13 state-funded schools, lots of options. But education is so important because it is the future of where we're going to be.
It is.
And you hear all the politicians talk about workforce development, and you'll hear me talk about my kids. I want them to have opportunities here. Economic development does not happen unless we have a workforce that's ready to go inside, whether it's a factory, an accounting firm, or whatever it is. And so education, that especially that K through 12 piece, is really important. And as far as the federal piece goes, you know, the federal Department of Education is relatively new, started in the 70s. And what we as governors have told the president in a very unanimous voice is we'd like block grants. Because right now the Department of Education sends money to the state of Missouri Interstate in buckets and says you must spend so much in this and you must spend so much
They
in this.
dictate how it's spent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just give it to us in one bucket, in a block grant. We'll decide how it should be spent with the educators, with the Carla Essinger, with the input from the public school systems, and that will be a much more flexible program to have.
That sounds great. Well, this is, I think, big news for many of the folks in our county.
Yeah,
And
there'll
I
be
think
bumps
they'll
in
be
the road.
glad to hear.
There'll be legislation where people say, "Why are they doing that? Why aren't they doing that?"
Right.
Somebody cornered me the other day
Yeah.
at St. Patrick's Day Parade and said, "Do you need to fully fund the education formula?" Well, just to be clear, so your viewers know, the average increase to the education formula is 78 million a year. The highest it's been is 127 million. We, in our budget, put 200 million.
More than the highest it's ever been.
More than 3 times the average.
Yeah.
And our basically 3 times the average. So the education is being funded.
Right.
Period.
And
And the House and Senate, now it's a process. You both know that. The House might have a different approach. The Senate might have a different approach. But we're not going to not fund education. We're not going to pay. We're going to pay our teachers. We're not going to fund. We want to fund making sure our teachers get paid. I'm trying to say that the right way. We fully funded the transportation line in the budget, which you guys know, especially in rural districts, is very important. And that's 357 million a year.
Yeah.
So our budget fully funds the transportation line. A lot of good things in public education in our budget. I think the House is doing a good job. They'll have their budget out next week or so, and then the Senate will take it up. And I think our educators will be happy with the product we get.
That's great. Thank you very much for that. We'll make sure that people understand that. And I'm sure if they have questions or concerns, they can contact your office or Carla
You bet.
at Nessie, and they can answer those questions. Governor, I think we're probably getting close on time. Is there anything else that
Have
you
we
can think
scared
of?
off all your viewers yet? That's all I'm trying to figure out.
Well, I don't know. Landon, are they still looking? Can you tell?
Well, I'm glad we have
Of
Landon
course,
here.
they didn't know that we were going to do this.
Just
So
so
until
the-
we get out there and push
The
it.
viewers know Landon Fraker actually is making all this happen. It's nothing to do with this guy.
Normally my brother.
They know that. They know that. My boys are both techies, and
Hey, most of all,
well with
thank you too for your friendship, for representing the area as well as you did, for helping me always in the county. Claudia and I are grateful for friends we've made all over the state, and you too certainly, and a lot of other people in Webster County certainly are in that category.
We're honored to be your friend, and we're honored to be here to help you in any way we can. We know you're going to be a great leader for our state. Maggie, come around here and show people. Say hi. We didn't want to leave Maggie out.
Maggie's my horse person.
Yeah.
She was riding today.
So you probably don't know if we'll see you this year in the parade. You've got a whole state to cover now, but
Well, you remember last year before I got in the parade, the Belgians crushed my shoulder
Yeah.
in the trailer. But our team of horses got a little aggressive.
we might see you. And
We'll
you
try
know,
to be in the parade. We love your parade here. It's packed.
Flat.
It's historic. It's flat.
Right.
If you have a team of horses in Stagecoach Cunningham, flat is important.
and we appreciate you pick up your own horse manure too. You, I mean, your guy, your people, you make sure.
Well, Claudia does.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
She's been around me. She can shovel manure.
I do want to thank you. I'm on the Route 66
Oh, yeah.
Centennial Celebration
Hey.
Committee, and what you're doing to help
You know
us
what's
there.
going to happen, right?
Yes, we do.
Is that public
yes.
yet? Or can we say?
I don't know.
Okay, there's a big surprise coming with the Route 66. It turns 100 years in 2026.
next year.
The start of Route 66, as most people know, is Springfield,
Missouri, April 30th.
And we have probably one of the best Route 66 commissions in the United States because it goes through several states.
We're working hard.
And there's big news. There's big news coming.
Perfect.
And thank you for bringing that
Yeah.
up because I'm a huge fan of Route
Yeah,
66.
and we appreciate your support.
Yeah, yeah.
So be ready for that. We
Big
definitely
news.
will want you in Marshfield, Missouri next year for sure for the parade.
Yes,
Because
sir.
that'll be our big Webster County event that we have tying that together. So
You got it.
I guess we better get down to the Lincoln Days. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you.
We're honored to have the Kehoe family with us today. We'll see you again next week. I've got a special guest next week. If it doesn't fall through, you'll like him too.
Good.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.